Hi folks, Mr. Long here. I'm going to work through some row operations as we solve a 3x3 system. So this is a web page that works on your iPhone, your iPad, or on a computer. And I'm just on my Mac right now doing it, and I'm just going to show you how to do it. So I'm going to set up a matrix with 3 rows and 4 columns. So it's what's called an augmented matrix. And then I'm just going to throw some numbers in here. 3, 2, 3, 2, 1. So 3x plus 2y plus 1z. And a nice easy one to practice with is to just let x, y, and z all equal 1, because it doesn't really matter what x, y, and z are. The whole idea is that you practice row operations. So let's see here. So I'm going to put in a 6 there, and let's see. Then my next, I'm going to do 2, negative 5, and I don't know, 3. So if the solutions are all 1, 1, and 1, that's going to be 0. And because it's 2x minus 5y plus 3z equals 0. And then I'm not sure why that is highlighted in yellow. I'll put a 6 in there. And then let's go down to this one, and just to make life, let's make this a 5, and a 2, and a negative 4. And so 5 and 2 is 7, minus 4 is 3. And I'll submit that. Okay, so now I need to do some row operations. Now what I can do is I can actually, if I click here where it says row echelon form, I can actually get it to go to row echelon form, and it'll show me all the steps. And I think what we're going to focus on is going to row echelon form with row operations and then back substituting to solve. I think that's probably our best approach. Okay, so in row echelon form, I need a 1 here, I need a 1 here, and I need a 1 here. So let's see. In terms of operations, one of the operations I can do, if I want to get a 1, I always want to start it with a 1 right here where that 3 is. So what I could do is just add the second negative of the second row to the first row. And then that would change that 3 to a 1. So I'm going to add negative 1 times row 2 to the first row. And do it, and there it is now. So now I've got a 1. That's great. Now I can start to work. Now I can eliminate the x coefficient in the second row. So I'm going to add negative 2 times the first row to the second row. So you see our strategy, folks? It's to get a 1 in the x column and then eliminate x from the second and get a 1 in the first row for x, and now I can eliminate x, the x coefficient, in row 2 and row 3. So add negative 2 times the first row to the second row. Do it. Okay, good. Now I want to do the same thing to the third row. So I'm going to have to add the opposite of that. It's going to be negative 5 of the first row, and I'm going to add that to the third row. Okay, and there's another one. There's another row operations. Another row operation. So now I've got zeros in those 2 columns. My next goal is to get a 0 in this column. But before I do that, the idea here, folks, is that I can get a 1 in the second column, if possible. It might not be possible. So, ultimately I need to get a 0 here where that negative 33 is. But I'm just, doing math in my head, and I don't see an easy way to do it. Because at 7, if I look at 7, 14, 21, 28, 35 would give me a 2 there. If I went to 5 times row 1 plus row 3. That's a little bit on the challenging side. So let's see, what else can we do here? This is 19. See, I'm doing this without I haven't planned this out, right? So I'm doing this just as you would in a question. So I'm thinking, if I want to get, now what I'm going to do then is I'm going to, although it's going to make it very difficult, You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to add 3 of row 1 to row 2. And just get that to a 2 and see if that can help me out. So add 3 times the first row to the second row. And do that. And now I've got, which was a bit of a problem. That was a silly thing because look what happened. I reintroduced the 3 there. That's great. I'm glad I did that. So never, once you've got things down to a 1 here, you never want to do a row operation that involves that again. So I'm going to go back to this one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and get rid of this negative 33. Yeah, try and get rid of that negative 33. So now what I guess what I'm going to have to do is, fractions wise, I'm going to have to multiply. Now this only allows, in terms of row operations, I can't multiply each row, right? I can only multiply one row. So if I wanted to do this, I would have to multiply you know what, I guess what I have to do here is I need to multiply the second row by 1 divided by negative 19. Right now I'm going to get some fractions there, but that's what I've had to do. So in this case, and you've got a calculator, your calculators work with fractions. So this is a case where I think you're going to have to do this. Now that's not a hard one, right, to do, divide all that out. So the whole purpose is I got a 1, and now it's quite straightforward. I can add 33 times the second row to the third row. And there's going to be some fraction work there that you're going to have to do. And then again, do it. And now I'm at a spot where it's quite easy to solve. So in this case, if you look at the third row there, very clearly the solution for z is z equals 1. And then what I would do is back substitute now. So the next equation right here would be what you're going to do there. Actually, let me do this and file new. And I'll just give you an idea of what you would have to do in this one. So I'm back here. And so that's clearly that the z is going to equal 1. So now I go into the next equation above and I substitute in. So here's what it would look like. I would have y minus, and if we go back, z worked out to 1, so minus 7/19 times 1 minus 7/19. Let me make that much bigger. Y minus 7/19 equals, so I'm in the second row, equals 12/19. Right, so y minus 7/19 equals 12/19. So then I would add 7/19 to both sides, and y would equal 1. So now I know what x equals. X equals 1, y equals 1. Now I have to go back to the very first equation, which I've got right here. So it'd be 1x right here, plus 7y minus 2z equals 6. And I replace y with 1 and z with 1. And then I solve. Okay, and I solve using that first equation. So I think that's the process we should be using, is going to row echelon form. And I guess, you don't even need this last one here. You don't need a 1 there. You just, once you get to the point where these two entries are 0, you can just solve for z. Okay, and I think that'll help. Now let me see here. Oh yeah, and you can do this, all operations view. So that went through all of the different row operations right there that we could have done back. And then the last thing to do is for row echelon form. Yeah, I think. Yeah, look at a lot of the operations are the same. So it's chosen the same operations as I have.